4 high school students left dead. Imagine waking up one morning and reading this headline. At first glance, one might assume this had to do something with a tragic event. However, in 1905, this headline could have been about a football game. Today, football is much safer than it once was. However, injuries do still occur. Around the turn of the 21st century, the NFL was facing new research and newly discovered diseases about concussions, a terrible brain injury. During the turn of the 21st century, the NFL was working hard to change its safety practices and ideas about concussions. Now, what is a concussion? In simple terms, a concussion occurs when the brain makes impact with the interior of the skull, causing almost like a bruise on the brain. Symptoms of concussions include sensitivity to light, confusions, and sometimes loss of consciousness. However, these symptoms can escalate into biochemical changes in the brain if left unmonitored. In 2002, a new disease was discovered in the NFL, CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is a degenerative brain disorder that causes the simple deterioration of the brain over time. The first NFL athlete diagnosed with CTE was Mike Webster. After years of suffering from CTE, he was deemed totally disabled by the NFL. And another new disease discovered around the 21st century was second impact syndrome. This was originally discovered in 1973 and occurs when a player suffers a second concussion while still recovering from the first one. This is another very dramatic disease, and it came to light in the NFL in 2000 when a study showed that 26% of all NFL athletes had suffered 3 or more concussions in their career. Despite this, the NFL's concussion research team, the MTBI, reported that concussions had no long-term or serious side effects, even though every other research team in the country reported otherwise. Not only this, but the MTBI behaved rather questionably in the past. For example, after performing an analysis on hundreds of NFL athletes' brain, these results were mysteriously discarded, and no one knows what happened to them. This is just one example of the MTBI's malpractice. Some of the most notable players to be affected by the negligence of the MTBI and the NFL are Mike Webster, Troy Aikman, and Wayne Chrebet. In 1993, Troy Aikman was playing in the NFC Championship game where he suffered a knee to the back of the head. He resulted in total memory loss about the game, and afterwards the owner of his franchise told him that he had to ignore his injuries if the game was important enough. Perhaps the most shocking instance of the MTBI's malpractice occurred in 2003, when Wayne Chrebet was knocked unconscious during the game, sent back into the game by the head of the MTBI himself. Chrebet retired in 2005 after being forced to by his wife and doctors. His last play as an NFL player resulted in him face down and unconscious in Giant Stadium. Today, football is a lot safer than it once was. They have taken action such as changing the rules to make gameplay safer. Some of these most recent rule changes happened in 2013, which is prohibiting hitting with the crown of the helmet, shown here, prohibiting the peel-back block, and moving the kicking yard line 5 yards forwards to limit returns. Violating these rules come with on as well as off-field penalties. In addition, in 2002, the NFL requested more neurocognitive testing to determine safe return to play. As a response, the impact test was born. This test is designed to determine when a player is ready to compete again after suffering from a concussion. It is not used, however, to diagnose a concussion. In just over a decade, it has risen to be the most effective and most popular method for determining safe return to play. In one last step the NFL has taken to ensure player safety, they have recently partnered with a Heads Up Football campaign, part of USA Football. This campaign is dedicated to making the game safer from the midget and pee-wee leagues all the way up to the pros. This campaign is capable of certifying coaches and players and football programs as well that coach, teach, and promote safe gameplay to their athletes. They've even gone as far as to publish safe and proper tackling techniques to minimize injuries in this aspect of the game. By partnering with this, the NFL is ensuring that the concussion safety is promoted from the littlest players all the way up to the professional athletes. In the past, the NFL did not really care or recognize the threat that concussions possess to their players. They behaved poorly and questionably which resulted in unneeded risk and health dangers to athletes. However, since the turn of the 21st century, the NFL has been working to fix its concussion safeties by completing actions such as changing the rules, developing safer testing, and promoting better gameplay. Thank you for your time.